they are the only authority where they can earn and spend. Other than the central government, any other authority can earn and spend. So the local authorities has enormous power to do that. The political parties was not prepared properly to come up with the relevant informations to fulfill the youth quota and the women's quota. This election's large number of nomination also has been rejected. More than 2/3 of local authority, at least single nomination paper reject. This local election is really important because, as you said, we are having these elections after 7 years, long due. There were a lot of delays, postponement due to the previous government decisions. They were not released money, and they don't want to have any sort of local elections until presidential elections. So there are a lot of reasons that political reasons that they postponed the elections. And now we are ready for all 339 local authorities. If you look at the number of candidates for local elections, 71,000. Each and every village, at least 3-4 candidates. So in that contest, 250, even 1,000 smaller complaints are not a serious things. These elections, they have introduced online complaint system also. Now everybody can use their mobile phone and lodge their complaint easily.
After so long time, basically being about 7 years, last being held in 2018, there had been so many arguments mingling here and there with stops and starts. And finally, the local government election is going to happen in Sri Lanka in 2025. And to talk about that, we have the pleasure in talking to the Executive Director of PAFRO, Mr. Rohan Hettiarachchi. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. So I would like to know from you as to why these elections, when talking about the local authorities, why are they important?
I think each election is important because every election we are selecting our representative. Our Sri Lankan electoral system is going basically with the representative. So no matter whether it is a parliamentary elections or provincial elections, presidential elections or a local elections, each and every elections are important. For this local election is really important because, as you said, we are having these elections after 7 years, long due. And there were a lot of delays, postponement due to the previous government decisions. They were not released money, and they don't want to have any sort of local elections until presidential elections. So there are a lot of reasons that political reasons that they postponed the elections. And after that, but during that period, we have already called the nominations also. But under the present government, we cancel the nomination and we call the fresh nominations for these elections. Again, this election's large number of nomination also has been rejected. More than 2/3 of local authority, at least single nomination paper rejected. So this is really sad situations. So under that circumstances, which we are going to have these elections on May 6th. And today again the important date for local elections, the final cases were rejected by the Supreme Court. And now we are ready for all 339 local authorities. So the local authorities basically, they are doing everything from birth to die. So each and every each and every sector in between, from birth to die. So the local authority can interfere. They can establish not only this, basically street lighting or garbage collecting, but other than that, they can do a lot of developments. They can start with schools, education system. They can start transportations. They can start with any business. So they are the only authority where they can earn and spend. Other than the central government, any other authority can earn and spend. So the local authorities has enormous power to do that. So that is why we should select the right people to the local elections. So that is why this is quite important.
Mr. Rohan, you mentioned that there were a couple of nominees that were already selected previously, and right now again a fresh nomination went, and then from that a lot got rejected. Could you specify the reasons for these rejections?
No, the previous rejections, of course, that's a political decisions. The nomination, because we went to Supreme Court also and got the court order as well. So previous nominations cancelled, not the rejections, cancelled by the parliament with the two-third majority. That is a political decisions. We also accept finally, because after 2 years, the nominations, a lot of people die in between. Lot of political parties not appeared. So that's a different scenario. But in these elections, a lot of nomination was rejected mainly due to the. I'm not saying that youth quota, but the political parties was not prepared properly to come up with the relevant informations to fulfill the youth quota and the women's quota. So when they fulfilling the quota, because it's a compulsory, they have to show the certified birth certificate. Some political parties was failed to submit those certificate. Some parties has submit but not certified by the district additional registrar general, and some nomination were rejected due to they were not submit in a right time. Some nomination was rejected due to signatures. They were not signed in a proper place, and it was not endorsed by the relevant persons. So there are so many issues related the documentations. The nomination were rejected by the elections commission or returning officers in the district level. There are 190 cases were filed. 190 cases were filed. 138 application was accepted by the court and given the order to the elections commission to proceed with those nomination again. So actually there are some administrative issues. There's some communications gap between the political party and the elections commissions. The political party is also not prepared properly. Prior to the elections, prior to the nomination, PAFL prepared a list of areas where nomination can be rejected, just to educate the political party. But unfortunately, they were not serious about it. So finally, a lot of nominations, 2/3 of nominations out of 339 local authorities, only 100 out of 339 local authorities, only 114 local authorities nominations, none of the nominations were rejected. Only, that means 1/3. So this is really sad. So we are going to analyze these informations and with the political party, with the elections commissions, and we are trying to make proper recommendations for the future purpose.
Okay, so when talking about these local government elections, most of the people say that, okay, this is something which is small election going on, so it's not important in voting. But when we take in the public concern, the public vote, the public general vote is very important when it comes to all the elections which are happening. Why do you think that this election, the voting of the public people is important?
I think there is no big elections or a small elections, according to me as a citizen as well as the elections observer. But the local elections, of course, really important, as I explained even earlier, because this is the authority, this is the place where they can earn the money and spend the money. Other than the local authority, only the central government can do it. And they can take actions each and every human aspect of their life, the local authority. So that is why sometimes the national level parliamentarians also resign from their post and contest for the local elections. They were recent passed for the Colombo municipality, so 1 MPs, and even the provincial level people also resign from their post and contesting the local election, because local authorities do have enormous power and they can make a bylaws even. They can take their own decisions, and they can earn and they can spend. It's go beyond this street lighting or this go beyond this garbage collecting. So if you fail to select right people there, you will not see any differences, because we have been having this local government system over decades. What has changed now? But if you look at the other countries, the local authorities, how much power they do have, and how much involvement they do, the people's day-to-day needs, and power with the mayors and the chairmen of the local authorities is completely different. And they most of the regional countries, even Asian contest, they are doing best in their own country. I mean, compared with Sri Lanka.
So that means basically the vote of the public is very crucial in deciding something to be changed,
Exactly.
to be seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So when going forward, like we hear about this violence, malfunctions, and all of those, right? To now, in this election period, how many records had been recorded of such?
Well, in our structure, we have received around 270-80 cases up to now. But those are not quite serious, I mean, compared with the past. But I can say a couple of categories: misuse of government resources and government power, and of course, violence, and bribing the voters in a different ways, especially during this single Hindu New Year. A lot of New Year parties, festivals was organized by some parties, some candidates. In addition, illegal propaganda took place. But all those complaints, I mean, if you look at the number of candidates for local elections, 71,000. Each and every village, at least 3-4 candidates. So in that contest, 250, even 1,000 smaller complaints are not a serious things. And previous elections, the biggest issue, because it was traditionally the number of complaints we were getting even last couple of elections were reduced systematically. But until the last parliamentary elections, the biggest issue was misuse of government resource and government power. But I need to thank the present government. They are not systematically doing or misusing the government resource. There are some isolated cases has been reported, but it was not in the large scale as we had in the past. Violence, of course, violence also very less, but that tradition was already there from 2003 onwards, because the last critical case was in 2001. 7 people shot and died in Udatalawina. That was the last case reported in a big way. But even before 2000, every elections at least 30-40 people die. But that was the culture we had. And during that period, I can still remember we had a campaign called Ballot Without Bullet. Ballot Without Bullet. So we had a long way, this journey. And we as Observer Group, we are really happy now. All violations were reduced dramatically. So these elections also, there are some, but it's not a serious thing.
Well, so if such a conduct is been happening, violence, misconduct, something has been happening, to which authorities should these be informed, and how can we proceed on?
So basically, all the powers are vested with the elections commissions, but they have a centralized system, and also they have a district level complaint mechanism. I'm happy to share that these elections, they have introduced online complaint system also. Now everybody can use their mobile phone and lodge their complaint easily. In this system, it goes to the elections commission, but there are two categories of complaints. One is the administrative issues, administrative, in a sense, misuse of government resources or government power, and maybe bribing voters, that nature. But especially the government resources and the government power cases goes directly, responsibility goes to the elections commissions. But the other matters, illegal propaganda and violence, that goes to the police. The police are also taking actions quite fast. I'm not saying they are perfect, but certain level, I mean, compare with the Asian context, in my experience, Sri Lanka is much, much better than the other countries. Like, I mean, if you look at Myanmar, if you look at Bangladesh, if you look at Thailand, so we are really lucky to have a kind of independent commissions. Compare with them. I'm not saying again this commission is perfect.
Comparison.
But compare with comparisons with the Asian region, except couple of countries, we are in a higher position.
Okay, just to distinguish between 2018 local government election and the 2025 local government election, what are the key features being added to the 2025 one?
The two things. One is the youth quota. Actually, it was there before 2012, but unfortunately, when they changed the electoral system, they have changed, or they have forgotten it. I don't know, I mean, purposefully whether they did it or they forgot it. But before 2012, youth quota was there. And some of the parliamentarians, those who are in the parliament even now, they came through the youth quota. This was introduced after several years now in 2023, but in only for nomination quota. But that is, 2018 it was not there. So that is number one. Number two, the campaign finance ceiling. That was also not there in 2018 elections. So these the two things are completely new for this local elections, but we exercise this for LPTA Pradesh Sabha. Recent past we had that local authorities elections, but these two are serious. The new to the present election system.
How was the successful rate over there?
Well, campaign finance, across the country, even presidential elections, parliamentary election, political parties, in certain extent, adhere the law, but local authority election in LPTA, out of, I can't remember the exact number of candidates, but roughly about 150 people, but not submit their report. So that means that they should be disqualified for future elections, at least for 4 years. That is the law says. But the police has to take them to the court, and they have to, the election commission has to complain to the police has to get the attorney's department, long process, and then the attorney, with the attorney's advice, police has to file the cases. So it all depend on implementations, because law itself it's fine, but the implementation process is too delay and the long process. I think that has to revise, the legal framework has to revise immediately after local elections.
Okay, so could I ask you the preparation from the peripheral end to the upcoming local government election?
Well, we were realized that the election is coming in this period. We were not aware exactly date, but we were realized because we went to the court before, and we got the court order also. So we were prepared for these elections in advance. From the nominations, we have deployed 160 long-term observers. We have 160 electoral divisions. So these 160 people are covered their divisions. We call them a long-term observer. In addition, we have established, from the beginning, we have established a complaint unit at the headquarters. We have a team for that. And we have given one coordinator for each and every provinces. That means 9 coordinators, and separate complaint 24 hours channel for women's candidate, because women's are more marginalized generally in the elections. But so far, fortunately, we have only very few cases reported. For the postal observations, we have already prepared 200 observers across the country, only on the selected polling places. Considering elections day polling stations, we will deploy around 300 stationary observers, and to cover the polling stations, in between the polling stations we deploy around 200 mobile team also on the elections day. So roughly about 4,000 observers will be in the ground on the elections day with all this capacity.
Okay, so this is my final question. So, when talking about all the social media or like the sharing of misinformation, that is very crucial because so much was happening on the previous years. So, what kind of rules and regulations had been taken to not to like eliminate but to control, because you can't eliminate, to control this misinformation sharing about this election?
Well, we have been engaged with hashtag generation and the Elections Commission in a long run on this matter. In addition, PAFL itself deploy 30 observers across the country as a fact checkers, but we are looking at only on the disinformation, misinformation, because we can't cover the whole thing. I think the social media is one of the best tool to educate the citizens, because the mainstreaming media, it's really cost, and they are taking the news on their own interest, and there are some political line also, some of them. But the social media is, we can use in a positive way to educate the people, educate the public, educate the citizens as well as voters, I mean altogether. But unfortunately, some social media, they are looking at more economic side of it, and they are going with more gossips, and they are not checking the data properly. A lot of misinformations, mislead the voters. Some of the social media platform, actually their main objective is not work as a education tool, but basically earning point. So that is the sad part. But it has changed. I mean, if we look back last 10-15 years, even the recent years, now it turned towards the social media. A lot of we are moving from mainstreaming media to social media, because as you said that you can't control, but you have to have a self-control mechanism. And we have main elections, we have deal with this Meta and other platform. We had a good rapport, good coordinations to remove this misinformation, disinformations, and the other issues related to elections. They basically act fast during main elections, presidential and parliamentary elections, but unfortunately for the local elections they are not serious as such. But it all depends on the public interest. If public reject, no point having a social media platform in that way. So the social media owners or whoever running their own pages, whatever the purpose, so they have to set up their own criteria, because the government can't control that. And my personal view also, we don't want to control anyone's views, so people should have a but that doesn't mean that you can cheat anybody. So that is once people realize that this platform is not reliable, the people will
Not look again.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks a lot for joining with Hari TV,
Thank you.
which ensures the most I could say, with maintaining a good rapport, as you mentioned. And thanks a lot for joining with our TV, Mr. Rohan Hetiarachi.
Thank you for taking me here.